Have you ever felt that sinking moment when someone you deeply care about suddenly goes quiet? The kind of silence that isn't just the absence of words, but the absence of their presence in your life. One day, you're sharing texts, calls, and little moments that feel like the fabric of your connection. Then suddenly, it's like they've vanished. No explanation, no warning. It hits you like a wave. You're left questioning everything. Did I say something wrong? Did something happen to them? And the worst part, that sense of helplessness, like you've been pushed out of their world, erased as if you never mattered. But here's where it gets intriguing. Just when you decide to stop reaching out, something unexpected happens. That silence you dreaded begins to work in your favor. Suddenly, they're the ones initiating contact. They're checking in, asking about your life, and acting as if they've rediscovered their interest in you. It's confusing, almost ironic. So, what's really behind this transformation? Why does stepping away seem to pull them back in? Silence, especially when applied through the no contact rule, holds a power that often goes unnoticed. It doesn't just create a void, it demands attention, shifts perspectives, and stirs emotions in ways few other actions can. If you're curious about why this approach seems to work so universally, then this video is exactly what you need. Together, we'll uncover 7 powerful reasons why the no contact rule leaves such a lasting impact. And, more importantly, how you can use it to either recapture someone's attention or rediscover your own sense of clarity and purpose. Before we dive into these transformative insights, I want to leave you with a profound thought from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Let that sink in for a moment. What this truly means is that when you free yourself from the endless pursuit of someone else's validation or attention, you reclaim something far more valuable: your own sense of power and self-worth. It's in letting go that you often gain the most. When you step back and stop reaching out, something remarkable happens. People begin to sense what they stand to lose, even if they don't consciously realize it at first. This shift can make them reassess your value in their life. It feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? How can silence, or creating distance, make someone want you more? The answer lies in human psychology. The no-contact rule taps into primal fears of loss, the deep allure of rarity, and the irresistible pull of mystery. Today, we're going to break this down and explore why the no-contact rule is so effective. We'll uncover how it can shift the power dynamics in a relationship, and even offer you a sense of clarity in the process. But before we dive in, let's reflect on your own experiences. Have you ever used the no-contact rule? Maybe with an ex, a close friend, or someone who seemed to be slipping away. Did you notice them reaching out, questioning the silence, or showing renewed interest? Or perhaps you were the one left in the quiet, wondering what caused the change. Together, we'll explore 7 compelling reasons why this approach works, and how you can use it not just to reconnect with someone, but to rediscover your own sense of worth and control. Let's begin. Reason number 1. The profound psychological response to loss. As human beings, the experience of loss is one of the most intense emotions we endure. Whether it's the grief of losing a loved one, the heartbreak of a significant relationship ending, or the unsettling disruption of a cherished routine, loss leaves an indelible imprint on our psyche. It's not just an emotional void. It's a biological reaction ingrained deep within us. Our brains are hardwired to crave the comfort and stability that familiarity provides, so when that stability is suddenly taken away, We feel unbalanced and distressed. This is exactly why the no contact rule is so powerful. It triggers that deeply rooted response to loss, compelling the other person to confront the void left in your absence. Think back to a time when someone you deeply cared for, perhaps a close friend or a partner, suddenly disappeared from your life. At first, you might have brushed it off as a temporary shift, but as the days turned into weeks, the weight of their absence began to grow heavier. You started replaying memories, questioning what went wrong, and feeling the sting of their silence more acutely. This is the essence of why loss is so impactful. The absence forces the other person to face the reality of what life feels like without you, a reality they may not have fully appreciated until you were no longer there. You find yourself staring at your phone, scrolling endlessly through old messages, replaying every word of past conversations in your head. It's as if your mind is desperately trying to bridge the gap between what was and what is now missing. This isn't just nostalgia. It's your brain's way of grappling with the emptiness left behind. The connection, the familiarity, the small but comforting routines, they've all vanished, leaving you searching for a way to make sense of the silence. Now, let's flip the perspective. When you enforce the no contact rule, the person who created that distance begins to experience their own version of this emptiness. At first, they may feel a fleeting sense of relief, convincing themselves they made the right choice by stepping away. But as the days stretch into weeks, something changes. The silence they once found comforting becomes deafening. The absence they barely noticed turns into a void they can't escape. This shift happens because humans are creatures of habit, deeply connected to the routines and relationships that shape our lives. When someone is a consistent presence, someone we text, call, or interact with regularly, they carve out a space in our hearts and minds. When that presence is suddenly removed, it's not just an emotional absence, it's a significant void. And as that void grows, the person left behind begins to confront a reality they didn't anticipate. Life without you feels far emptier than they expected. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect, a phenomenon where our minds fixate on unresolved matters, leaving them open loops that demand attention. When you enforce the no contact rule, you become one of those unresolved matters in someone's mind. Suddenly, they're left wondering about your silence, questioning your motives, and speculating about how you're coping without them. These unanswered questions create a mental itch they can't ignore. Think about someone who once thrived on your consistent attention, whether through texts, calls, or shared moments. You were a steady part of their life, a presence they took for granted. Then, without warning, you withdraw. No explanation, no closure. At first, they may try to dismiss it, or convince themselves it doesn't matter. But as the days pass, those unspoken questions start to grow louder. Why haven't you reached out? Are you moving on? Are they truly forgotten? These thoughts don't just linger, they intensify. The discomfort of not knowing begins to weigh on them, pulling their focus toward you more than ever. This isn't just an emotional reaction. It operates on a subconscious level, driven by the human need to resolve what feels incomplete. Your silence becomes the very thing that commands their attention, highlighting your absence in a way words never could. Loss ignites a primal survival instinct, compelling individuals to reevaluate what they've lost and whether they can truly afford to let it go. It's not just a passing feeling, it's a deep, visceral reaction. The sensation of missing someone sends a signal to the brain, a reminder that something significant is no longer there. Even if they were the ones who chose to walk away, your absence forces them to confront the reality of that choice. They begin to feel the weight of what they've let slip through their fingers. Loss has a dual purpose. It's both a teacher and a mirror. It teaches hard lessons about priorities, values, and the things we often take for granted. At the same time, it reflects the importance of what has been left behind. When you step back and create distance, you give the other person a rare opportunity to look inward. Without your presence to distract them, they're left alone with their thoughts and the growing realization of what they're missing. Your absence doesn't simply create a void, it sends a powerful, silent message. I won't chase after you, but that doesn't diminish my worth. It's a declaration of self-respect and inner strength. By withdrawing, you shift the dynamic, allowing them to see your value not through words or actions, but through the undeniable impact of your absence. In that space, they begin to understand what they've truly lost. Reason number 2. The importance of balancing stability and uncertainty. Relationships thrive on a delicate balance between stability and uncertainty. Stability offers the comfort of knowing someone is there for you, a foundation of security that allows trust to grow. But when stability becomes too predictable, it often leads to complacency. Think about having your favorite meal every single day. It doesn't take long before the excitement fades, and what once brought joy becomes mundane. Relationships operate in much the same way. To keep them alive and vibrant, we need occasional sparks of intrigue, surprise, and a touch of unpredictability. When you suddenly go silent, you disrupt the predictable rhythm of their life. Perhaps you are their go-to person, the one they could always count on for a message, a call, or a word of encouragement. Then, one day, that dependable connection disappears. The change may be subtle at first, but it has a profound effect. They begin to wonder, did I do something wrong? Have I lost them? This uncertainty doesn't just occupy their thoughts, it ignites a curiosity they can't easily shake. Suddenly, your absence is far more noticeable than your presence ever was. This response isn't accidental, it's rooted in human psychology. The brain seeks stability as a means of survival, but craves uncertainty to feel alive. As Seneca wisely observed, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a person perfected without challenges. By stepping back, you introduce the necessary friction that disrupts their comfort and forces them to reassess their feelings for you. Imagine this. You've been sending them a simple good morning message every day. Over time, it becomes part of their routine, an unspoken constant they barely notice. Then, one day, you stop. At first, they might not think much of it, but as the days pass, the absence begins to weigh on them. They start to miss that moment of stability, that comforting reminder that you were thinking of them. But now, with the stability gone, what takes its place is intrigue, the question of why. That uncertainty creates tension, and tension is magnetic. It draws their focus back to you. This balance between stability and unpredictability is the same force that captivates us in stories, adventures, and even relationships. As Maya Angelou so beautifully said, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. By stepping away, you evoke emotions they won't easily forget: curiosity, longing, and an appreciation for what you brought into their life. When used wisely, this subtle unpredictability rekindles their interest. It encourages them to examine their feelings and recognize the significance of your presence. Instead of being the constant they've grown accustomed to, you become someone they desire to reach out to and reconnect with. This isn't about manipulation. It's about valuing yourself enough to create space for them to truly see your worth. Picture it like a favorite novel. If you were handed the conclusion too soon, the thrill of the journey would vanish. But if mystery lingers, you're compelled to turn the pages, eager to discover more. Your silence works in the same way. It keeps them wondering, reflecting, and longing for what's missing. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. By stepping back, you fill their thoughts with the memory of your kindness, the warmth of your presence, and the undeniable value of your connection. While they may feel the sting of your absence, they also begin to realize just how much you truly mattered. Reason number 3. Mystery enhances attraction. Mystery is one of the most powerful forces when it comes to attraction. Humans are naturally drawn to the unknown. It stirs curiosity, engages the mind, and keeps emotions alive. This is especially true in relationships. Predictability may bring comfort, but it rarely holds attention for long. On the other hand, a hint of mystery creates an irresistible pull, a desire to uncover what's hidden beneath the surface. By stepping back from constant communication, those daily texts, calls, or updates, you aren't just creating a void, you're cultivating intrigue. Your silence isn't emptiness, it's a canvas for their imagination. They start to wonder, why have they stopped reaching out? What's changed? These unspoken questions become an open loop in their mind, drawing their focus back to you time and time again. This isn't about playing games, it's about understanding a basic psychological truth. People are captivated by what they don't fully understand. Imagine someone who once had a window into every part of your life. They knew your routines, your thoughts, even your vulnerabilities. When you pull back, that window closes, leaving them to fill in the blanks. What are they doing? Are they meeting new people, growing in ways I never expected? Suddenly, your absence doesn't diminish your value, it amplifies it. It shifts you from being predictable to being intriguing, from routine to extraordinary. Seneca once said, "What fortune has granted you is not truly yours. Your time, your energy, and your presence are gifts, not obligations." By creating a sense of mystery, you remind the other person of the privilege it is to know you, rather than treating your attention as something guaranteed. This unpredictability makes you stand out. It gives you an air of complexity, a depth that compels them to reevaluate their perception of you. It's not about secrecy or manipulation, it's about honoring yourself. You don't need to explain every action, justify every choice, or constantly make yourself available. Your quietness speaks volumes, sending a clear message. I value my time. I respect my boundaries. I am whole on my own. So take a moment to reflect on your worth. Your absence doesn't make you less, it highlights your uniqueness. The mystery you create invites others to see you in a new light, as someone worth pursuing, understanding, and cherishing. By stepping back, you show that you are more than what they've come to expect. You are someone worth discovering. Reason number 4. Scarcity heightens desire. Imagine holding a rare gem in your hand, knowing it's one of a kind. Would you toss it aside without a second thought? Of course not. Its rarity is what gives it value, what makes it precious. Now, think of how this concept applies to relationships. When someone or something is constantly available, it's easy to take it for granted. It becomes part of the background, predictable and unremarkable. But when that access is limited, something remarkable happens. Desire intensifies. Consider this scenario. You've always been there for someone. They call and you answer without hesitation. They text and you reply within moments. You prioritize them consistently, sometimes even at your own expense. Over time, this dependable presence becomes routine, expected, and perhaps even unnoticed. They don't mean to devalue you, but your constant availability creates an illusion of abundance. Now, what happens when you take a step back? When the calls go unanswered, the texts sit unread, and your presence suddenly becomes scarce. The dynamic shifts completely. You're no longer just there. You're missing. And that absence has weight. Scarcity draws attention to what was once overlooked, making them realize the significance of what they've lost access to. Marcus Aurelius said, "What we do now echoes in eternity." The way you choose to allocate your time and energy shapes how others perceive your worth. By introducing scarcity, whether through intentional silence or by redirecting your focus toward your own growth, you send a powerful message. I will not be taken for granted. This isn't about manipulation or creating resentment. It's about quiet confidence, the kind that says, I know my value, and I expect others to recognize it too. Scarcity serves as a reminder to both others and yourself that your presence is a privilege, not a given. Think back to the moments when you've truly valued someone. Was it during constant interaction, or was it in their absence that their significance became clear? By stepping back, you allow the other person the space to reflect, to gain perspective, and to reassess the role you play in their life. But here's where it becomes even more compelling. Scarcity doesn't just create desire, it creates urgency. The fear of losing you lights a fire under them. They may start to question their actions, reevaluate their priorities, and think about what they need to do to make things right. In this process, they're reminded of everything that makes you unique. Your energy, your presence, and all the qualities they might have once taken for granted. Take a moment now to consider how you perceive your own value. Are you making yourself readily available out of fear, or are you holding yourself to a standard that reflects your worth? By embracing scarcity, you invite others to see you for the rare and extraordinary person you are. It's not about withdrawing out of spite. It's about stepping back with intention, giving them the chance to truly appreciate what they could lose. Reason number 5, self-respect and relationship boundaries. The no-contact rule isn't just about creating distance from someone. It's about reclaiming your self-respect and establishing boundaries that reflect your worth. In relationships, it's all too easy to prioritize the needs and desires of others, often at the expense of your own. Over time, this self-neglect can erode your sense of value and leave you feeling depleted, unappreciated, and emotionally exhausted. How many times have you found yourself giving endlessly to a relationship that failed to offer the same in return? When you consistently place someone else's needs above your own, it sends an unspoken message. Your feelings, boundaries, and well-being aren't as important, but they are. The no-contact rule is a way to reset this imbalance, not to harm or punish the other person, but to honor your own emotional health and self-worth. Stepping back from constant communication creates a space that serves as both a reminder and a statement. It reminds you of what you deserve: respect, care, and reciprocity. and it signals to the other person that neglect or disregard will not be tolerated. Your silence becomes a reflection of your standards, a quiet but powerful declaration. I value myself too much to accept anything less than mutual respect. It's important to remember that no contact isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's a form of emotional self-care, a way to establish boundaries and communicate that you have expectations for how you should be treated. By taking this step, you're affirming that your self-worth is non-negotiable and that any relationship you invest in must honor that. Far from being a negative action, no contact has the potential to pave the way for healthier dynamics. It gives both parties the opportunity to reflect, reset, and recalibrate the relationship. When you consistently accept unhealthy behaviors, you inadvertently signal that such treatment is acceptable. But when you implement boundaries, you teach others how to treat you, and you teach yourself to uphold your own value. No contact is not just about addressing past behaviors. It's about creating the conditions for a future where love, respect, and care are mutual. It's a step toward building relationships that honor both individuals rather than depleting one to satisfy the other. Take a moment to ask yourself, am I giving more than I'm receiving? Am I sacrificing my well-being for the sake of someone else's needs? If the answer is yes, then it's time to reassess. You deserve the same respect, care, and love that you so freely give to others. The no-contact rule is not a rejection of the relationship. It's a powerful affirmation of your self-respect. Reason number 6, the fear of missing out, FOMO, is a powerful emotional force that can shape our actions and decisions. It's that nagging feeling of being left out, excluded, or replaced, whether it's seeing friends enjoying an event you weren't invited to, or noticing an ex moving on with someone new. This blend of jealousy, desire, and insecurity reveals a fundamental truth about human nature. We all crave connection, validation, and a sense of belonging. Now, think about the ripple effects of your silence. When you've been a consistent presence in someone's life, sharing your thoughts, feelings, and experiences, and then suddenly withdraw, it creates more than just a gap. At first, they may brush it off as a minor change, but as time passes, something begins to shift. What are they doing without me? Are they moving on? Who are they spending time with? These unanswered questions trigger a spiral of uncertainty, fueling FOMO. This fear isn't superficial. It's primal. It taps into deep-seated insecurities, the fear of rejection, of being forgotten, of no longer mattering to someone who once valued you. The longer the silence lingers, the more these thoughts intensify. Their mind becomes consumed by the possibilities, and the fear of losing their place in your life begins to weigh heavily on them. It's no longer just about missing your presence. It's about the dread of being replaced or left behind. This growing fear pushes them to take action. The idea that the relationship could be fading away, or worse, that they've lost you forever, creates an urgency that's hard to ignore. FOMO serves as a powerful motivator, compelling them to reach out, to reconnect, and to reestablish their significance in your life. This is why creating distance can be so effective. It doesn't just give the other person time to think. It highlights the value of what they're missing. When you step back, you create a void that they feel an intense need to fill. The fear of losing something they once considered secure forces them to confront what they've taken for granted. This emotional discomfort often leads them to reevaluate the relationship and take proactive steps to bridge the gap. It's crucial to understand that this isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about allowing the other person to experience the consequences of your absence. Sometimes, it's only through facing the emptiness you leave behind that they come to fully appreciate your presence. FOMO heightens the stakes, introducing a sense of urgency that can reignite their desire to reconnect and rebuild the bond. So, remember, your silence isn't just a lack of communication, it's a catalyst. It creates space for reflection and realization, giving the other person the opportunity to see what life without you truly feels like. And often, that fear of missing out becomes the push they need to recognize your value and take meaningful action to reconnect. Reason number 7, the open loop. Have you ever found yourself binge-watching a TV series or staying up late to finish a book because you simply had to know what happened next? That sense of suspense, that irresistible pull to resolve the unknown, is what psychologists refer to as an open loop. It's a compelling psychological effect that keeps the mind fixated on finding closure. In relationships, unresolved situations create a similar dynamic, an emotional cliffhanger that becomes impossible to ignore. When you stop communicating with someone who's used to hearing from you regularly, you leave them with unanswered questions. Why have they gone silent? Did I do something wrong? Have they moved on? These thoughts swirl in their mind, creating a sense of emotional unrest. This uncertainty doesn't just occupy their thoughts, it anchors them emotionally to the unresolved situation, making them more invested in seeking answers. Unanswered questions are powerful. They stir curiosity, spark anticipation, and deepen emotional engagement. Your silence creates a narrative in their mind, one they feel compelled to resolve. It's like leaving a puzzle unfinished. The missing piece becomes all they can focus on, and they're driven to find it. This emotional cliffhanger keeps them mentally engaged, even if they try to move forward. They can't help but feel that something remains unresolved. This yearning for closure often compels them to reach out. They aren't just looking to reconnect, they're seeking answers to calm the mental and emotional turmoil caused by your absence. They want to know why the dynamic has shifted and what it means for their place in your life. Maya Angelou once said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." Similarly, in relationships, unresolved tension can weigh heavily, creating a powerful urgency to address it. By stepping back and creating this open loop, you're not manipulating. It's about allowing space for reflection. The other person has the opportunity to process their feelings, confront the emotional void, and in many cases recognize the value of what they're missing. This period of silence often brings clarity, helping them appreciate the significance of your presence. It's important to remember, though, that the no-contact rule isn't a universal solution. Relationships are complex, and emotions are unpredictable. If someone has already distanced themselves emotionally, or if there are deeper issues at play, no contact may not have the intended effect. It won't fix every problem or guarantee a reunion. However, it does serve as a valuable tool in many situations. It creates the space needed for both parties to reflect, heal, and gain clarity. For some, this time apart leads to a deeper understanding of what truly matters. It allows you to assess your desires without the influence of constant communication. And for the other person, it provides a chance to confront the unresolved feelings and unanswered questions that your silence has created. In the end, the open loop can be a powerful catalyst for growth, understanding, and perhaps even a renewed connection. It's essential to understand that the no contact rule isn't solely about winning someone back. It's about reconnecting with yourself. This process goes beyond the dynamics of any single relationship. It's an opportunity to pause, reflect, and ask yourself an important question. Do I truly want this person in my life, or am I holding on out of habit, fear, or insecurity? By creating distance, you gain the clarity needed to evaluate the relationship from a healthier perspective. You begin to see not just the other person, but also yourself, your needs, your boundaries, and the type of connection you truly deserve. This is the hidden gift of the no contact rule. Whether it leads to rekindling a past relationship or stepping forward into a new chapter independently, its ultimate purpose is self-discovery, healing, and growth. Think of it as a way to rebuild your foundation. It's not about manipulating outcomes or controlling others. It's about reclaiming your power, fostering self-respect, and finding peace. When you shift the focus inward, you begin to see that the most important relationship in your life is the one you have with yourself. Thank you for joining me today and exploring these insights. Remember, the journey toward self-respect, clarity, and growth begins with small but intentional steps. Whether you're implementing the no contact rule or simply striving to restore your inner balance, trust that each step is moving you closer to a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. Have faith in the process. You are worth the effort.